The fact that I'm recording this story means that I'm okay, and so is Q's. The accident itself was crazy, but what transpired after the accident was even crazier. What started out as a routine day quickly turned into a day on the dark side. The morning before boarding a plane to Nairobi, I was on my way to the vet here in Diani to get Q's health certificate and local movement permit. These documents are required by Kenya Airways and Jumbo Jet, which both allow me to fly with a service animal. On a side note, Safari Link, you need to do the same thing. All right guys, so we're on Safari Link and the captain's actually watched my video. So go ahead, introduce yourself.
My name is Carlos.
Carlos?
Otondi.
Otondi?
I'm Edward.
Edward!
Yeah.
All right, they're awesome. This was a great flight. Very happy to be here.
Yes.
Q's and I hopped into a tuk-tuk for a 10-minute ride to the vet. Q's assumed the usual position of sitting between my legs on the floor while enjoying the view from the side of the tuk-tuk. I was busy fiddling with my two phones when I suddenly felt my tuk-tuk make a series of dramatic swerves. I looked up to notice that we were now on the opposite lane on two wheels with an oncoming tuk-tuk about to slam into the left side of my body. I braced for impact by ditching one of my phones and grabbing Q's with my free hand to help him withstand the impact. Next came the crash with sounds of metal on metal and breaking glass. I felt my body being tossed around. If you've been in an accident before, you might be able to relate to the feeling of being outside your body watching it all happen. My tuk-tuk rolled over and finally landed on the side of the road on its side. The other tuk-tuk also ended up off the road but remained upright. I'm unsure if I blacked out for a moment, but I regained my senses to the sound of Q's barking in a high-pitched tone which told me that something was very wrong. I did a quick body check to make sure that I didn't have any broken bones and that my limbs were functioning. As I got up, I noticed that Q's right paw was trapped in the door of our flipped tuk-tuk. I then noticed blood dripping from his paw onto his body. The door was jammed shut, but I was able to force it open with one hand while using the other to gently free his paw. I hugged him to calm him down and told him that it's gonna be okay. He stopped his barking but was clearly in shock and shaking all over. I noticed that our driver was already outside the tuk-tuk, so I'm again left wondering if I actually blacked out. Q's was able to crawl through the mangled window while I hoisted myself and climbed out. I immediately began searching for the phone that I ditched, the one with my Kenyan number, because I needed to call for assistance. The driver of the other tuk-tuk came to my assistance in looking for my phone. He had a tiny bit of blood on him, but nothing of consequence. My driver was busy talking to bystanders, and I noticed some blood on his arm. A few bystanders pushed my tuk-tuk back into its upright position so that I could conduct a proper search for my phone. Luckily, my American phone was still hotspotted to my missing Kenyan phone, so I knew that it was functioning and still in the vicinity. I was able to make a WhatsApp call to my friends asking them to rush to the scene. It gave me a great deal of comfort knowing that my friends were on the way. The situation now was very overwhelming because it appeared as though every tuk-tuk in Diani was at the scene of the accident. Passing vehicles all slowed to get a glimpse of the accident. Tuk-tuks and motorcycles pulled over and their passengers actually got out to see what was going on. It was so surreal. I yelled that someone should call the police. At that moment, the driver of my tuk-tuk claimed that Q's had bit him on his forearm, which is why he swerved and lost control of the tuk-tuk. Folks, let's be clear. Q's is a trained service dog. He doesn't bite humans. Additionally, he was sitting in the back of the tuk-tuk between my legs, so he couldn't possibly have reached from the back seat to bite the driver in the front of the tuk-tuk on his forearm. More chaos ensued, but luckily my friends showed up. A small pro-driver mob quickly began parroting the story of Q's biting the driver. This was the story that they told my friends, which was quickly followed by, who's going to pay for the hospital visit and for the repairs of the tuk-tuks. I love Kenya, but I am not naive to the fact that these guys saw a mzungu and assumed that they were about to score some money. My friends looked at me and without exchanging words, said that we need the police on site immediately. We also knew that we needed someone who spoke Swahili who could advocate for our position. We called our housekeeper, who arrived on the scene within 5 minutes with reinforcements. She began engaging the mob in a heated Swahili discussion for another 5 minutes. I was then expecting that she would give me the full scoop, but all she said was, "Let's call the police." That didn't really sound encouraging. Someone then yelled, "You're bleeding from the head." I touched my head and it immediately stung. Folks, I need you to imagine this scene. I am sitting on the side of the road and I'm feeling a bit dazed and confused. Q's is by my side on just 3 legs with folks in front of me yelling in Swahili. I am still unable to find my Kenyan phone, but I know that it's around because my hotspot is still working. A Kenyan Good Samaritan had been busy calling my phone in an attempt to locate it, but my phone was set to just vibrate. So unless I'm right next to my phone, there is no way that I can hear it vibrate with the volume of noise from this scene. About 10 minutes later, this same Good Samaritan who was trying to locate my phone asked my friend, "Do you know how to do an investigation?" My friend looked puzzled and said, "I'm not a cop, let's just wait for the police to arrive." The man responded again with, "Do you know how to do an investigation?" My friend again looked confused and responded with, "What do you mean?" The man said, "I'm gonna call your friend's phone again, but this time I want you to go stand next to that fella over there in the yellow shirt." My friend quickly obliged and slowly walked up to the crowd and made his way next to the man with the yellow shirt. I must admit, I was a little worried about this plan. The Good Samaritan called my phone again and again, but this time I noticed that the man in the yellow shirt pressed his hand on his left pocket each time. From the distance, I noticed my friend chatting with the man pointing at his pocket. The man pulled the phone from his pocket and gave it to my friend without incident. A couple seconds later, my friend returned with the lost phone. Guess who the man in the yellow shirt was? He was the driver of the tuk-tuk that slammed into ours, and he was initially helping me search for my phone. Damn. The Good Samaritan then asked for a reward. Double damn. I responded with, "Now is not the time. Now is just not the time." Kenyans, sometimes it's okay to do a good deed out of the kindness of your heart without the expectation of a reward. Just saying. This story is now way too long, but stay with me. The police still hadn't arrived. A military vehicle was passing by and my friends waved for them to stop. We asked them to call the police to clear up this matter. They too called the police. The pro tuk-tuk driver fans started relaying the story in Swahili. So once again, I was in the dark. By the way, the people relaying the story weren't even there for the accident. The owners of the tuk-tuks arrived and appeared angry, asking what I was gonna do with the tuk-tuks and the medical bills. This was becoming more and more surreal. So guys, here is the new scene. I'm on the side of the road, still dazed and confused. Q's is still next to me, hobbling on 3 feet. On one side, a truck of armed soldiers, speaking to an angry mob who is clearly not on my side. On the other side, angry tuk-tuk owners yelling at me saying I need to pay for damages and medical bills. And everybody is speaking in Swahili. So when I say that it was overwhelming, I mean it. But subscribers, let me level with you. There is no scenario in which I was going to pay anyone anything, given the fact that I did nothing wrong and that Q's and I were technically the victims here. I know that I'm a nice guy and that I have a soft spot for local vendors selling merch, which I buy but don't really need. However, this was very different and there was no way I was gonna let anyone get over on me. I glared back at the tuk-tuk owners and I said, "You're right. Who's going to pay for my medical bills and for my dog's broken foot?" I continued with, "This is a certified, trained service dog, and I need the police here right now to sort this matter out." The owners then spoke with a military man, and in a surprising change of heart, they said on their own that they're fine and they will take care of the repairs. I wonder why. Seems like no one around here wants the police in their business. They then asked for my number, to which I responded that the only party that I was giving my number to was the police. I noticed that the driver of my tuk-tuk, who reported that he was bitten by Q's, hopped on the back of a motorcycle and fled the scene. The tuk-tuk owners then said that there might be medical bills, to which I once again responded with, Are you gonna pay for my medical bills and my dog's broken foot? They then decided that the matter was over. I began filming the other driver, the man in the yellow shirt. He quickly left the scene once he saw that I was filming him. I took pictures of the scene, the vehicles, my injuries, and Q's injuries. Then it was my turn to exit because I didn't want to be the only party present when or if the police arrived. The military men released me as I mentioned that I need to immediately take care of my dog and that I too needed medical attention. I drove away in another tuk-tuk driven by the Good Samaritan and I gave him a very, very generous tip. Destination, the vet. We arrived at the vet, but this time for more than a planned health certificate. The vet checked out Q's and showed me that his paw had ripped open and we could see the bones of his foot. He indicated that Q's needed stitches immediately and that Q's would need to be put under for this procedure. He gave Q's an anesthetic which put Q's to sleep in a matter of seconds. I then joked that I could use some of that anesthetic on those nights when I'm just tossing around. The vet then confirmed that he'd take care of Q's and that I was now free to visit the hospital to address my issues. As you can see, Q's is being dramatic for this video. Diani Hospital was within 5 minutes of the vet. Upon arrival at the hospital, I indicated that a tuk-tuk struck me in the head, so they immediately took me to see a doctor. FYI, the last time I visited an ER in the US, it took them 5 hours to see me. The doctor cleaned my head wound and indicated that to rule out any larger issues, I needed a head CT. I immediately assumed a cost over $1,000 US because that's the out-of-pocket cost in the US. To my surprise, they quoted me only $110 US for the CT, so rather than fiddle with my insurance, I paid the medical bill with my credit card. Alright, the CT scan costs $110. I'm gonna do it. I left the hospital to pick up Q's, who was now stitched up and neatly bandaged. The vet assured me that we could both still travel to Nairobi the next day. So I collected the health certificate and lifted Q's into a tuk-tuk, who was still mostly knocked out from the powerful anesthetic. End of drama. Q's is on the mend. He's still hobbling around on his 3 functioning feet because he's uncomfortable putting pressure on the injured foot. Now that I'm back in Diani, I'll be taking him for another checkup to ensure that his wounds are healing nicely. Kenya, you are clearly testing me, but I am up for the challenge. Also, I will not allow a few bad actors to spoil my love for this place and its people. I have so much to share, but I'll prioritize the village giving video next because you all helped raise funds for that event. It was so delightful meeting the kids again, and I can't wait to share that video with you. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, share with your friends, and subscribe to this channel. Take care and be good to each other.